Okay, we are live. First of all, I will say that I believe yesterday's or the day before that live stream there, something happened. Um, I believe it's not visible. That is a glitch in the system. This should hopefully be working as it usually does. We will see. All the settings are correct, and hopefully people will then find the live stream. Yeah. So yes, this seems to be working. Horror business. Hi there. Good to see you as always. Luke and Mom. New country guys. The Anchor Punch Boxing News. Hello to you. We are going to do something I said I would probably not do for a while. We're going to talk politics. Mr. Sorpos, good to see you. Um, are you out already on your bike? Um, yeah, so wonderful to see that this is actually working now. So, yeah, I'm going to do something I said recently I'm probably not going to do so much in the future, talk politics. But I think we kind of have to. It's a touchy topic, but also I think at this point we're seeing a pattern. We're seeing something that can't be excused as something else. So let me just give it a few seconds while people are joining here. Just want to say hello to the good and wonderful people out there, or as I say sometimes in my videos, especially on the powerlifting vlog. Hello there, all you beautiful animals. I think that's rather funny. Jenny, hello there. Laura, respect the truth, says Babylon will fall. Kat, Renee, and yeah. So now, okay, let's get to the topic here. And I am sure I will be repeating myself a little bit. And the way we're doing it here is that I will give you my angle. I'll try to be as objective as I can first, and then we'll have an informal, hopefully not infernal. I have to stop doing that old joke. Uh, Discussion about the topic. So let me give you the list: Canada, Panama, Greenland, Gaza. And when you have a list like that, you start wondering which is next. Which is next? Because here's what it looks like, I'm sure, to most Americans and to people outside of America as well. It seems like you now have a government in the USA that believes that they can just take countries, they can just take land as theirs. So Trump called Canada the 51st state. I find that disrespectful. If I was Canadian, I would say up yours or something like that. So it's a sign of disrespect, and it doesn't matter, I believe, what you think about Trudeau. I think is a disgrace, by the way. But it's disrespectful to all Canadians. Panama is a little bit more complex, isn't it? Because yes, we're not going to get into that here, but Trump has some good points there. But it's not American. And it's fair to say that, okay, we want to buy this area of land from you. That's fair, but it's not fair when you say, and if you don't agree, we might actually just take it using military force. And that's basically what they said concerning Greenland. We have talked about Greenland before. And now, this idea about Gaza. Let me just say that, yes, if the USA could just go in there, seize the land, it would probably, if it's done correctly, it would probably bring peace, some kind of peace, or at least Roman peace, if you know what that means. I'm sure you do, to the area. But looking at the areas where that America has actually occupied, it's not brought peace to those areas like ever has it. It's always ended with a maelstrom. I got to use that word. Of violence and extremism and terror attacks and poverty, and so it's not going to end well. But the thing here is that you can't have a declining superpower, which is still a superpower, claiming that they will just take land where they see fit. Because when we have had that before, it's not uncommon. It's not in world history. We call it imperialism, and it's viewed as unethical. Um, and I mean, when you look at the people in Gaza who have nowhere to go, so they return to their homes, which are literally just pieces of rock and rubble because it's all been destroyed. But that's they don't have any choice, so they go back there, and you see them sitting there trying to rebuild a sort of a life. And you must remember, they have been living under the tyrannical rule of the Hamas terrorists for a long time. And now they're trying to rebuild a life in the ruins. And then you have the American president saying that we will rebuild Gaza, and the people who live there, they just have to go to other countries. And it will be the Riviera of, of the Middle East, says the property developer Trump. I mean, it's so, I'll just say it's disgusting. It's disrespectful again towards the people living there. So that's where I'm getting concerned, because we see a pattern here. We see a pattern. And the pattern seems to be that we now have a government in the USA that believes that they can just, it's in their right to take land. And now some people will probably be writing, or they have already written in the chat, that the USA is so powerful so they can do what they want. Yeah, maybe so. But you need to look at the ethics and the morals. I mean, this is coming from a president who claims to be a Christian. I don't think he's a Christian, but he needs to say that, I believe. It is highly disrespectful again, and we are starting to wonder which is the next country that Trump wants. Which is next on the list? Which is next on the list? Because it seems like it doesn't matter even what the people in that country wants. If you look at Greenland, it's like a tiny minority that wants to join the USA, and they even have the audacity to go there. Concerning Greenland, the son, Trump's son, he went there and did this PR stunt, which backfired tremendously, and it was exposed as what it was. Um, and they keep doing this, and they keep building this disrespect for America in the world, which I think is horrible, because I'm a big fan of America, you know. I am. So it makes us a little bit worried. Which one is next? So here's that's my question to you. If you look into the future a little bit, we have 4 land areas now. So Canada, Panama, Greenland, Gaza. Which is next? If you had to guess. If you had to guess, which is next? Um, and I don't think that, by the way, we can say that Trump is just saying these things as part of a negotiation, because we're looking at a pattern here now. If it was only, when he said the thing about Canada, I thought, well, that's disrespectful, but it's kind of a little bit funny as well. Because of, uh, the president saying that, but then it wasn't so funny anymore, right? So which is next? Which is next, do you think? Yeah, Big Red says Antarctica. I kind of have thought the same. I've been thinking the same thing, because of there are probably, I don't know, probably uh, minerals there that they will need for batteries. Let's see here. Arc Landscape says Mexico. Um, um, let's see. China and Taiwan. Yeah, that would be interesting. Let's see. I'll just Antarctica again. Yeah, that's probably a good guess. Ireland. Yeah. Let's see here. Yeah, I think Antarctica might be on the list there, and I actually don't know if the USA has claimed land down there in Antarctica. There are Norwegian territories there, which is crazy because Norway is at the opposite side of the globe. But Long Long Island. Uh, yes, my video didn't upload properly the other day. I don't know what happened there. This one seems to be working, which is good. Salty Ragu says, I called dibs on Jamaica. Well, who knows? And I think at this point it's almost expected. It's almost expected. And if we look back at world history, when you have superpowers carving up land and dividing it and sharing that land between them, it tends to end in a horrible way. We need to be able to learn from history. And on paper, it kind of seems sensible that you would have a neutral partner seizing control of Gaza. But then again, the USA is not neutral, because they are the ones they've been enabling Israel to keep killing, to keep Well, without the weapons and the support from the USA, they wouldn't have been able to do what they've been doing. um, let's see here. Um, yeah. Well, maybe it will stop with this. Maybe this was the last on the list. Some people are saying that Trump, and you will even hear journalists here, which should not be trusted, by the way. They are saying that, well, Trump, he's just saying these things, and everyone around him, they are totally unprepared about these statements. But no, I do not think so. Um, I do not think so. I think that none of this is things that Trump is just saying. So there's a plan behind all of this. It's not random. It's not. Uh, they have been told, you know. Who started talking about Israel and all that area? Well, if you go to the Bible, the Israelites started because they killed. God told them to kill the people who live there and make the land theirs. So clearly they started. But then the people who did live there, did they kill someone? I don't know. But who started this a little bit? Well, how far back do you want to go? Do you want to go back to when we were when we just someone shook the trees and we fell down and started beating each other with rocks? Um, do we go back that far? I think we can't do that. We can't play that game. We need to find common ground through trade, through similarities. I think if you look at the world today, it seems like the secular countries are the most peaceful. Um, but then again, are they peaceful because they're secular, or are they secular because they have been peaceful for some time? Um, you know, or is it a general attitude and mentality? Scandinavia, we have been peaceful for a very long time. So it's we can't compare. And of course, you have Islamic and Muslim aggression, which is absolutely a thing, and that makes the whole area, Gaza, Israel, it makes it very difficult. You can't really compare it to other parts of the world. Um, so let's see here. Um, yeah, you had the Norse expansion, of course, during the Viking Age. Of course, that was not peaceful, but it's a millennia ago. Let's see here. So, yeah, so basically, I worry about this mentality and this attitude and this, what seems to be a policy that the USA is, at least according to the new administration, ready to just seize land from other nations. It worries me. And which country is next on the list? We can speculate, Antarctica is probably a good guess. But I must admit, this attitude and this idea that the USA will just take land from other nations, um, it I didn't see it coming, actually, which is on me. That was naive. I should have, but I didn't. I actually did not see that coming. Um, so yeah. Um, okay, David says you cannot take land like you could hundreds of years ago. Yeah, I absolutely agree. I mean, we are talking about taking land is something they did when the Western world, um, they um, they just took colonies, and we can't go back to that. we, we can't go back to that. It's so uh, it's crazy, you know. Now trade is good. Trade is good, but looking at Trump's policies again, it seems like he's going to try to make trade more difficult, um, and that will bring the prices up in America. Someone thought they were very smart, and that I don't know about the tariffs protecting the Norwegian farmers. Yeah, I live here, so I kind of know about that. And the whole point is that we do know what happens when you have tariffs. It brings the prices up. And let me just clarify, because I've been a little bit unclear on that, how it works. Who's paying the tariffs? And my pointer is that it brings the prices up. And that's you're going to struggle in America if you get Norwegian prices, but you still have American wages. We have Norwegian prices, but we also have Norwegian wages. So that's different. Okay, so it's decided, 25% tariff on uh, cars. Stupid example, but cars from a country. Okay, the company in that other country selling cars to car dealers in your country, that country is not paying the tariffs. Those tariffs are added to the price when that car enters your country. So the customer will have to pay that price because the importer will add those 25% to the price. So it's not really in a traditional sense, a tax, but it will work as a tax, right? So the Americans will be paying the tariffs. So, okay. But back to the whole land grab thing. I think the time has come to be a little bit more. Let's just think crazy thoughts. Crazy thoughts. Um, let's just see crazy thoughts here. Which country, if you had a complete maniac as president in the USA, which country would that president want to take? Again, Antarctica has been mentioned, but China, I think, it's a little bit. Yeah, that is crazy. Of course, Canada has been mentioned already, and I Taiwan. I have an idea. I have an idea, and I don't know why, but something's telling me Ireland, Ireland, like that. I that. uh, excuse my pronunciation. I'll write it here. Oops. Hold on. And I honestly can't tell you why. I just have a feeling that something like that, like a European country without borders to other countries. Well, Ireland has sort of an artificial border because of Northern Ireland on the island, but I have a feeling that um, something like that could happen. And it's crazy. I know it's crazy, but it's if I had to make a crazy guess, I would kind of, why not? Are you seriously thinking that? Now I said this is a crazy idea. If we're talking crazy ideas, you know, could it be something like that? Um, if I had to bet money on this, would I say they're going to try to take Ireland? No, I wouldn't bet a dollar or a krona on that. Um, but you know, um, if you think about it, okay, that's a port into Europe in a way. Take Ireland, remove it from the present trade agreements and everything from Europe, and you renegotiate, and then you have a port into Europe, sort of, and you can use Ireland for all the things you don't want on American soil, nuclear power plants, what have you. But it's crazy. Um, it's crazy. I know. But Ukraine is, of course, more. You could say that the USA is already in Ukraine with the present government, but I don't know. Now, this is just a crazy guess. This is just a crazy. Actually, I'm not the one who came up with that. Other people, other people have been guessing Ireland actually, um, and but it's not. Do I think it's likely? Again, would I put money on that? No, no. Um, but I just wanted to mention it because other people have mentioned it and they have been saying you heard it here first. So I can't say that you heard it here first, but now I have mentioned it at least. But do I think that will happen? No, not at all. Now, some other ideas here. I have another one actually. It's not as crazy, but still quite crazy. Iceland. People tend to forget about Iceland, but if you're going to be looking at the world and oh, are there resources there? Can we drill for minerals there? I honestly don't know how that would be on Iceland. Maybe they drill down there and they instead of finding minerals, they get a volcanic eruption. But I don't know. But Iceland, maybe, you know, that would be it would be beneficial from a strategic standpoint. So, Stacy, yes, Trump did actually threaten to use force. He wouldn't rule it out when it comes to Greenland. So, yeah, Svalbard is also interesting. We have talked about that before. The problem seems to be that Russia is saying a lot of things, but they are saying that if the USA gets Greenland, Russia will take Svalbard. That's what Russia is saying. And Svalbard is part of Norwegian territory. Let's see. Yeah. Well, don't now. Don't. I wasn't saying that I think the USA is going to try to take Ireland. I said if we're going to talk crazy ideas, because we're almost at the point where we have to think and talk crazy ideas, then some people have been mentioning Ireland actually. And again, do I think that will happen? No. Let's see here. So places Greenland, part of North America. Yeah, but what about Hawaii? Is that part of North America as well? You're talking geologically, you know. Let's see here. Yeah, well, the problem with talking crap is that it. Let me just make an experiment here, okay? I have done this before. Did you hear that Trump wants to sell Alaska? It hasn't reached the news yet. Trump wants to sell Alaska to Russia, and that will be part of the peace agreement with concerning Ukraine. I mean, Alaska used to be Russian, so he wants to sell it back. Did you hear that? Are you okay with that? So that's not true. That's not true. It's just a joke. But I just said that to kind of stir up some feelings concerning saying things about territories that are part of other people's national identity. Not going to give up without a fight and so on. And there you see, it is the same with other nations and other peoples. It's the same. You wouldn't like that, would you? Of course not. Of course not. And it's the same with other people. They do not like when a president says things like that, as you did not like it when I said the thing about Alaska. So we have to try to look at things in a more objective way, because we are talking about things that could erupt in wars, things that could end very badly, right? Yeah, Brenda, it was a joke. It was a joke. It was a joke I made to make to illustrate what I'm trying to say here. Yeah. No, it was not. It's not true. It was just something I said to stir up the same feelings as people will have when Trump says that they will take other people's territory. Okay. So those feelings, we shouldn't really have a president that stirs up those feelings. It's not okay. It's not okay. Yeah, Dawn. Yes, you knew it was a joke. That's good. So Yeah. So this is where we are again. We are starting to wonder which one is next on the list. Um, Hopefully, there won't be any more. Um, and Mark, I don't know where it comes from, but when it comes to Greenland, there seems to be some fake news going around that Greenlanders want to join the USA. That's not, uh, according to the numbers I have seen, it is the opposite. Um, so, yeah. Um, yes, Angela, yes, please keep things respectful in the chat. Um, Uval says, you must admit the world is starting to respect the USA more. Biden, they didn't respect. Well, we are capable of disrespecting the Biden administration and the Trump administration. And here in Norway and among other people in Europe that I have been talking with, I'm afraid the truth is the opposite. We have started to disrespect um, the USA because of these statements. I'm saying I don't disrespect people in the USA, but there's a growing disrespect for the USA now. Um, and I think there's there's a difference in mentality that I actually think Trump doesn't understand it. And many Americans, they do not understand that, especially Europeans, are different in that way. You need to remember that are we are people who have a tradition of killing our rulers and our kings. We had to rise up. We had to become people with that kind of mentality where you disrespect authority. Now, it doesn't. There are differences within Europe, of course, and we have mock royal houses in many European countries, but we do not respect power. It's important to understand that we do not respect power. We do not respect displays of power, and the mentality is very different. Um, we disrespect displays of strong emotions, especially in Northern Europe. We disrespect bragging. And what we are seeing from the American president now is, to us, very disappointing, immature, and if anything, it creates a disrespect. No, we don't respect power. This is difficult to understand for people outside of Europe. Um, it's a different mentality, and I think so. This the idea. I see it. I see it every day now. People will be respecting the USA again now. No, that's not how it works. I'm sad to say that that's not how it works here. And you might disagree, but the fact is that there's a growing disrespect now. Please understand that it's a growing disrespect. And you might say that's unfair, but it doesn't change that fact. Okay. And it's also popular to say that Europe is weak and this and that. And you're kind of forgetting what Europe is. Um, a huge part of Europe is Russia. And Russia is not weak, you know. Um, and I think you would be surprised if you came here. Um, yeah. So, okay. People didn't like that so much. You want me to say that Europe is weak as a European? I'm not going to say that because, and it's not because I'm European, it's because it's not true. How much did Norway get out of US aid? Oh, dear. Um, okay. Yeah. I think also it's important to understand that not all of Europe, the EU is not Europe. Um, and I see people getting those confused all the time. Um, yeah. Yeah. So, yes, immigration into Europe is a problem in many European countries, not all European countries, not so much in Norway. Um, but I believe you have immigration issues in the USA as well. Why didn't you stop that? Is it because the USA is weak? Were you weak? It's ingrained in your economy now, so much so that your illegal immigrants, if they are all expelled, it will probably raise the wages, which it should, but that will also increase the inflation. Is that because you're weak? Is it going to change now all of a sudden? Have you been weak up until now? Or and so on and so on. We can play this game all day long. I think we need to understand that these politicians, at this point, they are not your friend, and they're not going to save your country. I think the big leader mentality, you won't find that in Europe. You might maybe find that in the USA. I don't know. I don't live in the USA, so I don't know. But you won't find it here. Uh, we don't respect power. We don't respect authority. In that's different in different countries. But France used to be, at least, I think still is. The people there don't respect authority. Here in Norway, I think people respect authority far too much. I don't at all. But yeah, so that's where we are. Norway is great. The Fighting Fedora, American Norwegian. I don't know what that means really, but I pray that someone comes along to make Norway great again. Norway is quite great. I like it here. And I certainly do not want one person or like a one leader to come along to change things to make it great here. It's already great if anything, I want these politicians to get their fingers off things concerning my life. Just leave things be. Don't touch anything. That would be my advice to politicians there. Don't touch anything. You'll ruin it. Kevin says, I think we should revert to absolute monarchy again. I hope that's a joke. Big Red says, hello, Norwegian women, so beautiful. Well, we're not complaining. We're not complaining. It's good here. Yeah. Yeah, Uval is actually, this is a good point. This is a good point. I have talked about, and he's saying, he or she, is that a he or she, Yuval? You just need to make more babies. So if you look at, I made a video about that on the main channel. If you look at the numbers in countries like the USA, almost the entire Europe, China, India, Japan, and many countries, you will see that this is a game of numbers. In a matter of decades, all of these countries, if we're not having more children than this, will decline, including the USA. Why? Because the population will be aging. And that means that they will have to do basically two things. The taxes needs to go up, well, and/or the welfare that you are offered by the state will have to be decreased, and you will have to get more immigration if people are not having more children, because the numbers don't add up. So it's not. It's actually been called a conspiracy theory by some people, but everything is, So in that respect, you could say that it doesn't matter what you think, doesn't matter how you're going to make the nation great again. Nothing matters. None of that matters, because at the end of the day, in a few decades now or sooner, in some countries, it's already starting. It's just about the numbers. It's just about finding people who can do the work necessary to maintain some kind of society. So that's a huge problem in Norway, as in all these other countries, and that is why I'm saying that the dominating force in the future, if this continues, the dominating force in the future, the dominating continent will be Africa. It's very simple to arrive at that conclusion. Doesn't take much. No, actually, India is struggling with declining birth numbers. It's below the replacement rate. So if this continues, it's going to be Africa. There might be some other countries here and there that will be able to maintain a younger population, but without immigration. And also, I mean, immigration changes the culture of a country. Like here in Norway, Norway is a high trust society. Um, and if we were to allow a high degree of immigration from low trust societies, low trust cultures, that would change the culture and in Norway. Um, if you go to Sweden, they've had a lot of immigration from North Africa, the Middle East. You can see the difference in crime rates and so on. Yeah, interesting soil play saying even African birth rates are dropping. Yeah, I mean, that seems to be a thing. They drop when a country becomes what we like to call developed. So if those birth rates in Africa, if they drop as well, then my prediction will not be true. You know, and also Diablo Blanca. Africa is huge. I mean, there are so many countries there which are very successful and quite peaceful. Um, so we tend to view Africa as one thing. It really isn't. Yeah, it's Norwegian immigration policy is Big Red is interesting because they claim to be. We had a lot of immigration from Ukraine, and I've said this before. It was like, oh yeah, we know that these women and children they will be integrated here in a matter of weeks. They will go and learn Norwegian, which they did, and they can then be given a house in one of the empty houses in rural Norway, and we will have people to uh, fill the vacant positions there in healthcare, schools, kindergarten, and many other things. Because that's a problem here. We don't have unemployment so much, but we have a lack of people. So they did, let's bring them all here, and then suddenly they said, oh, now we need to stop because it's not so profitable for us anymore. That's not what they're saying, but that's basically what it's about. And when it comes to typically young males from North Africa and these Muslim countries, the policy is very different. Say no more, but yeah. So that's Norwegian immigration policy there. Okay. Big Red says it's a privilege to become a citizen of Norway, and people should be thankful and involved in everything they must to as part of becoming a part of the Norwegian culture. Yeah, and most people do absolutely view that as a privilege. That's my impression. So, yeah, horror business is pointing at the fact that it's unsafe, especially for women in Sweden, many places in Sweden now. But then again, Sweden is a big country, you would be perfectly safe in most of Sweden. It's just some of the cities are, well, unsafe. Yeah, there are quite a bit of fake news coming out of not coming out of Norway, but about Norway. One is the thing in from 2025 there wouldn't be any fossil fuel cars here, which is ridiculous. Um, there are, and the other one is the a person facing jail time because she wouldn't use the preferred pronouns thing. Um, Legally, I don't think she was actually facing jail time, but it was a court case, and that is true. She was charged with harassment or something like that. Um, yeah. So the woke thing did get here eventually. Yeah. Divina says everyone has a vitamin D deficiency at northern climates. I don't. So, which news channels I watch? It's difficult to recommend one, and I think we shouldn't watch one. What I'm doing is quite painful. I watch mainstream news, and I watch alternative news that will typically be critical of mainstream news. So I try to get different perspectives on things. But when it comes to the typical leftist news channels on YouTube, I can't watch those anymore because now they all they're saying is Trump is bad in every single video. It's not. I mean, I think they got the Trump derangement syndrome again. So no, that's yeah. Is DEI a thing in Norway? Well, there is a law that I think is foolish, but it's a law. There is a law that requires the boards of companies. Where what is that what they call it? The board of a company. I think they need to have a certain portion of those people in the board of a company needs to be female. I think. I'm not sure exactly how those rules are, but I might be mistaken here, but I haven't heard about anything concerning racial things. If that's what you're asking about. Well, there is one. I think many years ago there was this discussion about they needed to get more police students from a so-called immigrant with an immigrant background into the police academies or the police academy, but that was simply because it was difficult for them to do undercover things in certain areas, something like that. But I might be wrong here. I don't know. I don't know. Oh yeah, Steve says the AI must be a big issue in Norway. I was watching Norwegian movies and colored Norwegians were very overrepresented in films. Yeah, that's certainly a thing, and it's hilarious, and not in a good way, because it's like let me just give you one example. IKEA. Have you heard about IKEA? The IKEA nightmare. No, IKEA hell. I call it IKEA hell. That's when you go to IKEA and you have to be in the IKEA s- store, no, warehouse. They're big on that in their commercials. You can't have an IKEA commercial with a white, well, pale skinned and Caucasian family. You can't have that. Um, so they will always have this, like the mixed race, which is fine. I don't care. That's fine, of course. But it's so obvious what they're trying to do because it's every time, they it needs to be a mixed race family, and it's every time. So it's like, okay, IKEA, I know, I get what you're trying to say now. It's okay now. You don't have to do it anymore. You can have a black family or a white family, whatever. You can have that now. It's okay. Uh, we don't think that you're racist if you have a and entirely Caucasian family in your commercial. So yeah, that's IKEA, and you see it in sometimes in some of the movies. Um, um, I don't know. Maybe that I can't give you any examples, but yeah, and I've noticed in the TV series they make here for kids, like children. I have noticed that if there's a colored um, boy or a girl, what I have noticed, which is, I mean, I shouldn't have to say this, but which is completely fine. I mean, obviously, that's not what I'm saying, but if there is, that kid needs to have a big afro, which is ridiculous because it's like every time those kids need to have a big afro. So it's like you can't get um, kids without a big fluffy hair if they're colored. They need to have big fluffy hair to be in a TV series for kids here, which is a bit funny. Um, and yeah, so yeah, the Jaguar commercial. What happened there? Um, what happened there? Uh, yeah, I don't know where USAID. I I need to look more into that, like finding the real facts about that before I comment on that. Queen of Detroit says, "Fun fact: our hair grows up. That's why it's like that." Oh, okay, yeah, um, yeah. Obviously, yes. I'm just saying that these kids they have to have this big hair, which I find a bit stereotypical. That's the word. So, um, yeah, that's it's like it's these things. I don't find them. I mean, some people. I've heard racist comments. I've heard, sometimes it slips out. Older relatives, I have heard it. It's not pretty when that happens. But I don't think that. Well, Scandinavians are not. We're not very concerned with race. And here's a theory that I heard. I will share it with you. Scandinavians are not concerned with race. We generally wouldn't care if the neighbor is from Ghana or Germany, or I mean, we wouldn't really care. It's not. It's not. We're not so concerned with that. It's not in our mentality. Okay, and we look at America and we feel that they are obsessed with race. You have, especially during later years now, you have had a resurgence of racism, and I would claim that's done mostly by the people who, claim to be allies and all of that, and they're obsessed with race, and we're just over here and we don't care. Why would we care? And the theory is that in Scandinavia, you don't have a class system. We don't have a class system. And when you go to the USA, you have, right, the American dream. So everyone has a chance to make it. Okay. And the USA also will claim that you don't have a class system. They will look at England and they will point to England and look at that disgusting class system that they have there. We don't have that here in the USA. And you don't have the exact same, but there's certainly a class system in the USA, but that cannot be admitted. So the theory goes like this: instead of pointing at injustice in the American society, in the culture, you would rather point at race. So people will say that these people over there in that neighborhood, they will never have a chance of making it because they're black or something, and because of systemic racism and all of that. While in reality, the race or color of their skin is not the issue. It's the culture and the class system. So that's the theory, and I find that to be a very interesting theory. So Laura says America does have a class system. Yes, you do. As far as I can see, you do. So it's much easier for Americans to shout racism or than admitting that there is certainly a class system that will keep some people down and make it a little bit easier for other people. So what do you think about that theory? um, uh, Elia, I just read your comment. That's wonderful. That's awesome. um, Yeah, Big Red says George Carlin was smart. He said it's a big club and we ain't in it. Yeah, that's true. Um, yeah, the woke thing, Claude is dying now that Trump won. I think it was only a matter of time anyway, because it got so ridiculous that became a comedy of, okay. Yeah, someone said here, if you had hair like that, it would absolutely rock a big afro. It's kind of cool, yeah. But I kind of think, out in the woods there and so on, with mosquitoes and other bugs, what if they get into the hair? Like, you would never. How do you find it? It's so probably not so practical here in during mosquito season. I get it. I get the deer louse flies. The deer louse flies. Yeah, I hate those. I get them in my bed. I don't like that. um, to repel mosquitoes, well, I've been using some kind of. It's I can't remember what it's called now, but it's a thing where you switch it on and it burns a gas. But then now they're not sure if that's cancerous or not, and they changed the ingredients. But I'm not sure if the new ingredients are better. Thermacell, yes, exactly. And there's an alternative too, but it's the same technology, the same chemicals. So I don't know. I don't know. But then you have DEET lotion, which is not good for your body at all. So, uh, yeah, yeah, that's. I will be looking more into that when that season starts. Yeah, Laura, how I keep safe from ticks. I used to wear high rubber boots that the ticks couldn't climb. And I still do that, but not for longer hikes. And I've been doing longer hikes like last year. Um, and yeah, I have to stay out of the areas where there are ticks. But anyway, okay. So I'm going to end the live stream with this. I hope you will be watching the video tonight on Bjorn Outdoors, my outdoors channel. It's linked to in the video description. And also my video tomorrow on the main channel, which has my name, and it's linked to in the video description as well. And I'm going out now actually to film the video for Bjorn Outdoors. Yeah, the lifting videos are there as well. All linked to in the video description. So, KP Hidden, thank you. Thank you. And thank you to all the moderators and everyone for joining. If you're listening to this, consider subscribing. That would be awesome. Yeah. So that's all for now. See you suddenly. Okay. Bye-bye.